Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, and thank you for being here. Also, thanks to Mr. Carl Fox for his invitation. This is very special for me because it is my first convention as a guest in the UK and also my first one in English. So it's really great for me to share this moment with you. My name is Marcos Ocaña. I am Bruce Lee Spanish historian from Madrid, and also I am the author of 6 books on Bruce Lee. And this talk is going to be about those books, the researching process, as well as some anecdotes related to Bruce Lee and connected to the books. My first book came out in 2003. It was titled Bruce Lee, the Man Behind the Legend, and it became the very first original biography in Spanish language ever. So that was great for me, and in order to give it color, so to speak, and make it different, I went to Hong Kong in 2001, and I spent a full month there researching and visiting different places, locations, and talking and interviewing different people related to Bruce Lee. So once there, I went to the newspaper archives to check the news of the time, and I have the incredible luck of meeting the person that I consider, in my opinion, the best Bruce Lee historian in Hong Kong. His name is Paul Lee, and during several days he took me to many different locations related to Bruce, and he told me non-stop stories about him. And there was a point in which it was impossible for me to retain all that much information, so I started filming as we were walking around the city, and I came back home with more than 14 hours of footage of locations and stories connected to those locations. Many of those places, unfortunately, no longer exist, but I had the chance to see them. And for example, he took me to the Tunjin building that, for those of you who don't know, is where the first offices of the Golden Harvest Studios were located when they started. And Bruce had a place there. There are pictures of Bruce in there. So we went to that floor to take a look at the place. And he also took me to the basement of the building where there was a stone relief on a wall of Sir Robert Hotum and his wife. Sir Robert Hotum was a distant relative of Grace Lee, and it was very special for me because some days later I met Robert Lee there, and again for a day he took me around the city, around Kowloon, in a kind of private tour, which was amazing because he was all the time telling stories about his brother and his family, and things such as in that shop over there, Bruce bought the tiger skin that you can see in the Game of Death. That was the Bowling Green Club where we used to go to play bowling and swimming. This is the part where the pictures with Unicorn Chan were taken. And that hotel over there is, back in the day, was the old location of the Boy Scout Association, where the pictures of Bruce and me dancing were taken, and so on, for a whole day. So, in return, I felt happy that I took him to the Tunjin building because I told him about that stone relief. And to my surprise, he had no idea that that was there. So he took a lot of pictures of it and was very happy because at the time, he was writing a book on Bruce Lee and his family. So it was a great moment for me to be able to return in some way his kindness for showing me around. The book became a success. It was also published into French language. And after that, the publisher asked me to do another book. So that's how I ended up writing The Bamboo Warrior in 2010. I have always been in love with Bruce Lee's philosophy, and I decided that my second book would go down that road. So I started with this book by D.T. Suzuki titled Zen and Japanese Culture. If you haven't read the book, I highly recommend you to do so, because I realized that at a certain moment I had already underlined over 1,000 lines of passages and texts and things that Bruce took to adapt them to his Jeet Kune Do, his way of filming, his scripts, his life in general. So after that one, because D.T. Suzuki was to send what Bruce Lee was in martial arts, I ended up buying around 100 books for the incredible price of $1 or $2 each. and 15 to 20 in shipping. So in the end, it was a little fortune, but it paid off because the book was very well received. And I was very surprised at how much the samurai philosophy, culture, and way of thinking had an impact in Bruce and in the Jeet Kune Do. We could say that Jeet Kune Do is in a way the way of the samurai as well, because many passages are copied verbatim, changing just one word to adapt it to Jeet Kune Do. When the book came out, the back then twice world champion of MotoGP, Jorge Lorenzo, recommended the book, telling that it had helped him to become a world champion. So it was great because it was a great plug for Bruce's philosophy, and it helped to spread his legacy. After The Bamboo Warrior, I decided that I wanted to do everything 100% my way and on my own. So in order to learn how to produce or to make a book, I started with this story of Bruce Lee in the Dominican Republic. I had seen a picture of Bruce and Ramon Smith exchanging moves, and I realized that I knew nothing about that episode of Bruce Lee's life in the Dominican Republic. So I got to talk to a gentleman called Marcos Ocaña. He was there when Bruce visited the country. He told me his stories, which were great, but he wasn't there every single day. But he told me, by the way, my brother Rafael was the responsible for Bruce Lee's security during that trip. And it was like, what? So he got me his phone number, and I gave him a call, and he was in bed at the hospital because he was dying of cancer. So I told him about what I wanted to do, and he told me, okay, I would like to have my story on record, but we have to do this now because we have no time left. So he shared his stories about Bruce Lee. He was there every single day, and he told me some great things, sent me pictures, and he also gave me the contact to other people who were present there. To me, this book, Bruce Lee, the Memories from the Dominican Republic, perfectly represents what Bruce Lee is about. I mean, sometimes people ask me, okay, what do you think is Bruce Lee's greatest legacy? And I always say the same. He was a person, and is still a person, who unites people. He's like a bridge that connects people from different countries, different cultures, backgrounds, races, you name it. So the great thing about this is that when I started calling these other people, they were asking me, would you have the phone number of this person? Because back in the day we were like brothers and we lost contact over 30, 40 years ago. So I exchanged phone numbers of people who were present there, and they got to reconnect after decades without having seen each other. So they sent me emails saying, thank you so much, this is my brother, sending me pictures of them together, and even better, some 8, 10 of them got together and got to visit Rafael in a hospital in his dying bed before he passed away. So the book is dedicated to him because he gave me the most precious thing that you can have, that is time, especially when you have not much left. So I felt very honored that I could contribute in this way to preserve this moment of Bruce Lee's life. Also, they shared a lot of stories and a lot of anecdotes, and some of them were very funny. For example, I remember that they told me that the hotel, they had adjoining rooms. So for the different demonstrations, they used to go to practice to one of these rooms. So there was this time in which the hotel staff called the police because they thought that they were destroying the room when they were practicing. Also, when he was going to travel there, he was asked, is there anything that you need for your demonstrations? So Bruce said, okay, it would be great to have a kicking shield. So they went to a mattresses factory and had one made out of plywood and foam for the demonstration. And they had this man, 90 kilos, big guy, strong guy, called Guerrero, who was responsible for holding the shield for Bruce to kick. So in the first demonstration, everything went very well, was smoothly in Santiago de los Caballeros, everything perfect. But in the second demonstration at La Vega, that evening, something happened. because Guido was there holding the shield, bracing himself, looking down, and for some reason Bruce was taking longer in delivering the kick. So Guido was like, okay, what's going on? So when he raised his head to see what was going on, the kick arrived. And the plywood hit him on the face and cut a hole open in his chin. So he had to be rushed to the hospital, and they had to look for another volunteer. And there was this man like, what a bad thing to do. But anyway, at the same time, Bruce and Jury realized that since they didn't speak Spanish, the best way to connect with the audience in the Dominican Republic was through humor. So they like to do these little jokes. For example, Jury would get on the stage and he would ask the audience, hey, would you like to see the fastest geek in the world? Pay attention. Would you like to see it again? And Bruce started doing this trick with a coin, in which he would take a coin and he would press hard against the forehead of a volunteer, so that when Bruce removed his hand, he still had the impression or the feeling of having the coin stuck to his forehead. So then Bruce would say, okay, now we are going to check your strength and your intelligence. I want you to put your head like this. You have to, your hand in here, and you have to hit hard on the back of your head until the coin falls. So you have this guy in there doing like this, 1, 2. The audience was counting and laughing because behind him was Bruce showing everybody the coin. So it was through these little tricks and things that they connected very much with the audience and left a great impression. So the book was published in Spanish, in English, and in French. And after that, I did an extended edition of the Bamboo Warrior, my way, with a list of 753 books that were in Bruce's library, classified by subjects. And after that, it was my intention to write what I would like to consider the most in-depth and detailed biography that I could write. So by this time I had already collected a huge amount of documents on every single aspect regarding Bruce Lee, the Green Hornet, the Silent Flute, Bruce Lee's death, Kung Fu, and many other subjects. So I got access to several newspaper archives in the United States, which produced a lot of news, especially from Seattle, about demonstrations that Bruce gave at the university and things that happened when he was younger. And I also got access to many newspaper archives for the Chinese language newspapers in Hong Kong. And I discovered that for some reason, some of these Chinese language newspapers had a kind of regular section on Bruce Lee. So every single day there was a new about Bruce Lee. I ended up collecting more than 1,000 of these news, and I had this wonderful friend of mine who could speak and read the Cantonese from that time. So for 3 weekends in a row, from morning to night, she was translating for me every single news. And she was reading on the fly, translating, and I was recording them. So that helped me to get an incredible amount of details that always adds up to the book. In the way of, for example, names, dates, titles. For example, this was the first day of filming of this film. Today, it was the last day of filming of whatever, of principal photography. Today, they started post-production. Today, a producer from Hungary came to Hong Kong to discuss this subject. Bruce is writing a new script and is halfway in the process, and he wants to title it Some of the Dark Night, and from there it goes 2 weeks later to Cold-Faced Tiger, and many things. Incredible. For example, when they talk about Bruce Lee, the choreographer, they usually talk about a walk in the spring rain and the breaking crew. Sometimes he's not unicorn, but they rarely mention, I have never seen it mentioned, that when he was filming at the end of the Green Hornet period, by March 1967, he helped to choreograph a fight scene that was taking place in an episode of the TV series The Felony Squad. So he was working with the leading actor to create this fight scene. Things like this that I have never heard before. So all that contributed to create a very detailed biography. Fortunately, the book was very well received. It worked very well. I included 600 pictures in it. I brought one copy for you to see if you're interested. And after that, I decided that my next project would be the silent flute. The silent flute has always been a marginal note on most of biographies, quick note on several articles, and it has been basically reduced to a bunch of pictures of Bruce jumping and kicking around in the desert. But it was so much more than that. We have to think that this was Bruce Lee's baby for 5 years. It was the project that he intended to use to show the world the beauty of the martial arts and the true meaning of the martial arts. So I had collected this incredible amount of documents in the form of contracts, drafts, choreography notes, the working session notes, the budget, the notes on Sufism, and the memorandums between studios to produce the film, the correspondence between Steve McQueen, James Coburn, Steven Silva, everything. And I put it all together in the book. I spent a lot of time putting everything in order. So, filling the blanks. And when it was finished, it became my first bilingual book, Spanish-English. I received a very nice email from a very famous Bruce Lee biographer, praising the work and telling me, there are 2 friends of mine that I would like to buy a copy of your book. Okay, I sent both copies, and after a while he told me one of them was Quentin Tarantino, and the other one was Jason Kotari. For those of you who don't know who Jason Kotari is, I will tell you, he sent me a wonderful, beautiful email telling me, I bought the rights to the silent flute a few years ago. I'm trying to produce a TV series based on Bruce Lee's writings. And I have to tell you thank you so much for writing this book, because it is definitely a game changer. And I have given it to my scriptwriters team to work and redevelop the project around the book. So I felt very, very honored, because it was a way of adding my 2 cents, as they say, or contribute to perpetuate or preserve Bruce Lee's dream that he never achieved with this film. So I was quite happy with it. And after that, of course, came my last book, which was The Death of Bruce Lee. From a personal point of view, I've never been really interested in Bruce Lee's death at all, because I have always preferred to concentrate on the things he did when he was alive and those things that were an inspiration or motivation for me. But from a historian point of view, I cannot deny that it's the star topic, star subject. It's what everybody wants to know. It's the first and last question in the conversations, and I'm sure that most of those that we are here today have taken part in countless conversations, discussions, arguments, debates, on internet forums, in-person talks, and whatever, about what happened to Bruce Lee. So I had more than 300 pages of documents, which basically covered pretty much everything. The police investigation reports, the statements of the witnesses at the inquest, the list of evidences, the autopsy report, the medical records, you name it, everything. The laboratory results, the chemistry, everything. So I put everything in order, the papers from the hospitals, I got it together, I filled the blanks, and after that, when the infamous drug letters came out, I extended my research in different directions. I got to some incredible discoveries. To quote just one, to conclude this talk, for example, the main question that we always ask is why, for example, why was he taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital? because the Baptist hospital is 5-minute walking, literally, from his house. I've been there, I've walked the distance, 5 minutes, no more. So why did he go to the Queen Elizabeth? We all know that in May 10, he had a collapse, he was rushed to the Baptist hospital, and from there he was transferred to Santa Teresa Hospital. It was there when he first admitted that he had taken drugs. And when I was researching about this, I came across this law or ordinance that was in power in 1973, in which there was two categories of medical institutions and hospitals. One of them had a list of 35 hospitals or institutions that, by law, had the obligation to report to the authorities in the case of use only of illegal or hard drugs, such as, back then, cocaine or cannabis. But there was another list where there were just 2 hospitals, and those didn't have the obligation to report. Can you guess what's the name of one of those hospitals? The Queen Elizabeth Hospital. So, on May 10th, they went to Baptist, but on July 20th, when Betty found out that Bruce was dead, and I'm sure that she knew what was going on and everything, because she openly talked about Bruce and drugs, and it's in the book, in the police reports. She called her brother, her mother, Raymond Chow, her physician, everybody but an ambulance. So when they arrived, obviously her physician was linked, or he worked at the Baptist hospital. So I'm 100% sure that he was perfectly aware of this ordinance. So if Bruce was taken to the Baptist hospital, he was going to answer a lot of questions. So he decided that the ambulance would go to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, where this law, let's say that at the Queen Hospital they had more wiggle room, so to speak. And they made disappear a bag of white powder that was found in Bruce Lee's clothes, and many other things. And at the same time, Dr. Lanford removed Bruce Lee's file from the Baptist Hospital. So he was taken there, and it's curious, because as soon as Bruce was dropped there, Dr. Chu left. So no questions for him. I don't know if you know this, but by the end of 1972, around December, Bruce and Betty were having a relationship. And before the beginning of filming of Enter the Dragon, Bruce broke up with her. She was so depressed that on December the 20th, she tried to commit suicide by taking a lot of pills, an overdose of pills and different drugs. She was found in a coma, and she was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And after she was recovered, she was transferred to Santa Teresa Hospital. So there are many things that don't match, and they are all in the book, the answer to that and many other questions. And I think it's pretty evident what happened. So I came across this article which talked about the effects of cocaine toxicity in the organism. So they were seen at level and in 3 different phases. The article describes perfectly all of the process and symptoms that the body is going through when you are having a cocaine overdose. So I separated those phases and those symptoms, and I realized that the truth that we have always been looking for, we had it right in front of our noses. And we only had to take a couple of steps back, and don't let the tree prevent us from seeing the forest. Because I put next to each symptom the statements of Bruce Lee himself, Linda Lee, Dr. Lanford, Dr. Chu, Dr. Wu, everyone. And they matched perfectly by 98–99% with all of the symptoms and the phases Bruce went through in the first collapse. So I think that with this edition of the book, all of the questions that we may have are solved now. in any case, I don't like to tell people what they have to think or believe, so all of the information is there. I have tried to tell the story as if I were placing you in the epicenter of all of the events by the minute. So I think it's up to everyone to take up or make up their own conclusions. I think it's very clear now. So with this, I finished my talk. I hope you have liked it. I hope that I didn't destroy too much your language, because as you can see, English is not my mother language. So thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any questions, I will be more than happy to try to answer them to the best of my ability. So thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Mike. You were talking about his writings when you looked at the silent flute. I wonder if you found any of the writings that led to the TV series The Warrior?
No, I think that the TV series The Warrior have nothing to do with Bruce Lee's writing, to be honest. I think it's more publicity than anything else. Bruce was a person that was constantly recycling himself. So you can see that many of the things that he wrote for the silent flute have been recycled into other projects, such as Long Street, Enter the Dragon. There are 5 choreographies that then appeared in The Big Boss, and many other things, but not in The Warrior. But there are great things because Bruce copied. You know, I think we all have heard the story of 3 samurais sat down at a table at a tavern. That was a story that he copied verbatim from a magazine called Psychology Now from 1968, and copied verbatim, so it's not Bruce's original, for example. And many things like that. And there are many, many, many things in the writings, the draft, and everything by Bruce that he took from Zen and Japanese culture that I was telling you about in the beginning, literally. So it's pretty revealing.
I want to say thank you for what you've done today, because I've never been comfortable with the official version of Bruce's death. Understanding the 80s, I did 40 years after training, traveling to China, Japan and everywhere, that I know certain things like humanity, death, which that didn't happen because that would have been picked up. Bruce would have felt that. But it's never made sense to me that Graham Chalmers and all these other things we've done, instead of sending an ambulance to Bruce, which would have been the normal response of any close friend or anybody that cared for him. And you've answered so many questions today. Thank you very much indeed for that. Appreciate it.
In the police investigation, they talked to Raymond Chow, and Raymond Chow admitted to the police that Bruce had talked to him about drugs and told him that they would soon be legalized. So I'm sure that Raymond Chow, it's in the document. It's not what I think it is wonderful about the documents is that you cannot deny what's in there. And the documents in the book put to sleep endless rumors, nonsenses, and things that people have been repeating for 5 decades. Many things. When you read a document, this can be right or wrong, but you cannot deny that this is it. So through the documents, I think everything is pretty clear. And when Betty Timpey received her citation to go to the inquest, she received it at 11:30 p.m. in the house of Raymond Chow, because she was with him. And they both got their citations or their call to go to the trial being together, because most probably they were discussing or putting in common what they were going to tell. And Betty admitted that I was told what I had to say. I was very young and I was told what to do, what to say. So pretty revealing. Thank you so much.
I just want to say that one of the things I always felt was Bruce's philosophy has been slightly, well, it has been underrated compared to the martial arts side of stuff. Yet it is perhaps the next stage of what's going to come. And within the martial arts world, he's understood. But like water, his philosophy can spread across those boundaries into the general public with the correct writing such as yours and the understanding of Chinese philosophy that underpins his life. And I think with, perhaps as you said, people looking at that side of things in greater depth, your writings and the writings of other people will understand that. That can take gruesome work and his understanding of life to reach far more people than perhaps we've even thought of. But it does mean people like yourself and other people like me need to come forward and start making his writing really, really loud. We live in a crazy world and we need something to start making sense of it.
Thank you for your talk. Thank you, it's wonderful. My name is Nadeem. I'm a medical doctor myself, and I've never understood how, an allergic reaction to equagesic. I think the great mystery is how we all believed this for so long, and for how long everybody kind of swallowed that story. I have heard other accounts and people talking about the idea that he was taking steroids, and steroids were quite common then, and there was that could have been a positive factor. Obviously, at the time that some of these people have written those books, the drug letters hadn't come out. So I think you said that you were aware of these letters when you wrote your book. Is that right?
Yeah, I have included a section on those letters in which I was analyzing a lot of different things. For example, I talked to the head of the forensic department in my city, which is the most important in Spain. I sent him the autopsy report so that he could read as an expert the different things in Bruce's body. And he told me, of course, I'm not going to say anything 100% for sure, because I haven't seen the corpse. But by reading this, it is pretty evident that cocaine may have a very important role. He told me, now it is so common to have cocaine overdoses that just looking at the color of the brain, we can see if that was the cause. But in that case, it looks very much like to it.
And of course, the other thing I've heard is that if it was attributed to drugs, there would have been no insurance payment as well.
Yeah, but Linda lied at the inquest. She blatantly lied. And all of that is detailed and explained in the book with her statements at the inquest. You can read them. It's not that Linda did, no, you can read them. The document is there. And everybody lied. I understand that she lied because she had 2 little children to take care of, and there was a lot of money involved. So she did that, but she's been fooling us for 5 decades now.
That's Lee, you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, Linda is asking for psilocybin to Bob Baker in the letters. It's her handwriting, and other drugs, and coke, openly. So that was when Bruce was alive. And a few months later, no, Bruce never took drugs. Only in the last months, very small doses of cannabis. So she lied.
Yeah, one thing that I've asked about what the gentleman said as a doctor as well is we know that Bruce had a back injury and he would be taking strong painkillers the whole time he was being in hospital. He would have to take painkillers at other times. So if he had sensitivity to certain painkillers, he would have been thought that during his time recovering from a back injury, because I'm a qualified nurse as well, so you would have pretty well documented what his allergies were. So I think that although he may have taken something, it might just coincide if it was the different underlying cause, like you say, it was most likely. But as you say, it's since the drug letters that this has become, people being more aware of all this. So I don't think it's diminished his legacy in many ways. I think it just brings out how human he was, and I think that's...
He was human, and this is interesting because back in the day, in 1972, the cocaine was considered as the champagne of the drugs. And it was taken by celebrities, sports people, TV presenters, and anyone who had, it was a sign of status. So Bruce said, okay, I want to try this, because in the publicity, it was not harmful. So nothing was going to happen to you by taking cocaine. So I think that Bruce stuck to that because Steve McQueen was taking it, James Coburn was taking it. I guess you know it, but by the time he died, James Coburn's daughter told in an interview to promote her father's biography that by the time Bruce died, he had ordered him to send him a dose, a shipment of cocaine inside the double end of a shaving foam can. And his father, her father, had it ready, but Bruce passed away before, so he never sent it. So.
Since his collapse in May 10th to July 20th, he must have been having on and off headaches through maybe working too hard, sleepless nights, maybe repeating himself. I think I'm trying to think what Bob Hall said. He was constantly repeating himself, or he said the sentence and he would say it again. So something wasn't right between May 10th and July 20th, because he was on and off having headaches as well. So I don't understand why didn't he go to the doctors to find out why I'm constantly having headaches back then?
Bruce started having headaches after May 10th. There is no report or indication that he had them prior to that, because the cocaine overdose dehydrates the body and makes the vein or the vessels narrower. So when the blood is not circulating properly, it gives you headaches. You get sweating and headaches. So we started having those from me, because probably something got damaged, but he refused to have an angiography made. When you inject fluid and with color to see if some vessel is broken. But he refused to do that, and he said that he would have the medical test performed or made in the United States. So we never know.
Marcos, I think we all knew about the cocaine in 1974 because it was in Alex Ben Brock's book. And with an American kind of journalist, a bit of an activist called Phil Oakes. And he was at a party with Robert Platts in November 1972. And they discussed Bruce Lee's cocaine problem. So it's been there for quite a while.
Yeah, and now it's pretty evident because there is documentation on proof. I agree. Yes.
Firstly, thank you very much for your talk. No need to apologise for your English. I think it was excellent.
No, thank you.
Really well done. I'm a historian myself, or rather that's been my field of study early on. And I was very interested with what came across there is your use of primary sources in terms of the documentation that you explained that you gathered for your books, which is impressive, the way that you've researched that, collected it, drawn conclusions from it. And the reason why I'm so impressed by it is because I think when you're looking at somebody like Bruce Lee, there's so much that's passed into legend, so much that's been written about the guy, so much that's embellished about it, to be quite honest. And other people wanting to jump onto the bandwagon behind his persona and his own fame in order to gain minor fame for themselves or whatever it is that they're going to gain. And where I come from with that is, these people, it strikes me, their recollections of Bruce, the tales that they have to say about him, much of what's been written has been drawn from their recollections, what they've said about him. They're secondary sources, it's all history. You're drawing not only on them, but on primary sources, written documentation, etc. And what I'd like to ask you is, to what extent, because clearly you've still got to draw on what people recollect, what they tell you, to what extent, as a historian, were you able to verify the claims that these people made?
If I understood what I think you want to know is, yeah, a lot of people has made up a lot of stories because they had a clue. And it is very human, I guess, that when you write something, you try to bring everyone to your side of things. So they see a few dots and they think that, okay, if I connect those dots with some logic, it's going to work. But when you have documents, you cannot deny it. So what I did, for example, was, you will see it in the book, it's so evident. You have, for example, phase one. And it is described at every single level: the lung, heart, skin, everything, the brain. Symptom number one, this one. And I put in there Bruce Lee's words of how he was feeling, and it matches perfectly. Symptom number two, let's say you are afraid of different things. Statement below that from Lena. He was literally afraid of everyone approaching him. Symptom number three, nystagmus, when you know the movement of the eyes. Dr. Langford, he had nystagmus on this side and then on the other side. Symptom number four, let's say, incredible strength that you are unable to control your upper limbs. Statement below. We had to tie him up because even four of us were unable to hold him because he was moving uncontrollably. You know, it's there. So it's so evident that I invite you to discover that and many other details in the book. I have 3 copies left. And 4 of the side, by the way. So,
sorry. I was going to change the subject. I feel bad because I was going to ask about silent flute. Given that you've studied the writings, the origins, what did you make of the David Carradine film that eventually was made from it? And do you think there's enough of a story there to sustain an adaptation without a big star like Bruce Lee in the film?
The film by David Carradine has been very much criticized, but I have to admit that it has more Bruce Lee elements from the original script in there than what most people know.
You could tell that there was a reverence to it. There were certain things maybe they couldn't do, didn't have the money to do, but they wanted to do to try and. It was maybe overloaded with some of the things that were released in terms of the length.
No, they tried to make out a few stories like the oil man, or the man in the oil, and many other things. But there are quite a few elements and lines that Bruce had in his original script. So when you look at the book, you can really see what's taken from the script and what's been made up for the film exclusively. So.
Thank you for this. Maybe I have another question. But I noticed in the silent flute, you brought in elements of Sufism, and I know that they were location hunting in India. And with Bruce Lee, always associated, as mentioned, with America and Far East, but not like the Middle East and places like that, or Sufism or India. And I've never really seen this come together in a book. Did you find a lot of elements of this, or
Yeah.
does it come from other places?
I found all of the elements. They are all in the book, but I also wanted to give an extra thing. So I traced the quotes from Omar Khayyam and many other authors. I included on a footnote all of the original references where they took those ideas or those writings from. The dervish and many other things. And it's everything in there, detailed, with references. It was a long research, many books and many things. But I think I found them all. They are all references in the book. And there are many things, not only from India, but from the US and many other places. So I think that you will find it interesting if you like that subject.
With the silent flute, I understood that Brandon for a time period was asking James Coburn about a copy of the script if he had a copy. So I think Brandon was interested in maybe doing it. Is there any more information about that you have at all?
I don't know any more than that.
Yeah.
I know that he contacted James Coburn, he admitted that, but he passed away before they did anything with it. And there is an interesting story. Everybody say, okay, when after the India trip, James Coburn said, okay, I'm done with the silent flute. That's not true. He kept on the project. And the only thing that he said no was to India, but not the project. And in fact, they became half owner along with Sterling Sullivan. And for 6 months each, they had the freedom to go to the different studios and try to make a deal and get the picture made. That's why in 1973 he went to Hong Kong to try to convince Bruce. If he had said bye-bye the silent flute, that it would make no sense. So he never said, and even after Bruce's death, they kept trying to make the project.
Well, thanks for that talk, it was brilliant. Just want to ask, for Bruce Lee being such a massive superstar, there seems so little TV interviews on the ground. You know, extensive research. Have you come across perhaps any archive footage or anything that's fallen on the cutting room floor? And also connected with that, does the scene in The Big Boss, the Chinese Connection, Sword to the Head exist?
No, I haven't seen anything new regarding footage. I can confirm for sure because the TV presenter in Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, told me personally that no footage was filmed there, not even on TV, because at the time it was very expensive to archive that material. So only the programs where a very VIP person, let's say, I don't know, that the President of the United States is going to the program. They did record those programs. Errol Flynn, who was very famous back then, is visiting the country. Okay, we record and archive that program. But the Bruce Lee one was aired just once and it was never recorded. So, but regarding footage, and now that Carl is here, I have brought a surprise for you. It's on behalf of the European Bruce Lee Club, with its president, Jaume Carbon, and myself. I'm going to show you some footage that not many people have seen. And it took a lot to get it. More than 350 emails, but I finally got it. We screened it in the West for the very first time back in 2010, and I wrote 7 minutes of it. So as soon as Carl comes in again, he will play it, and I hope you will enjoy it because it's something different.
Can I just ask about the silent flute location scouting? I know that James Coburn went with Bruce Lee, but didn't George Lazenby go as well? Or was he signed up for the film?
No, he wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And there was planned a second trip to India to scout for more locations. And the document is in the book.
Okay.
But there was just one. So whenever Carl is ready, I leave you with this surprise that I hope you will enjoy. So thank you so much again.